Fabricant 100 by Daisuke Enoshima is literally peak fiction. If you aren't a fan of the words goat, fire, peak fiction, click off the video now. Man, I really love setting myself up for disappointment with these new series, don't I? Oh no. Hello there everyone, welcome back to Shonen Soup. I'm your host, Botalk Media, and today we are talking about the latest new series in Weekly Shonen Jump, Fabricant 100. This was the last of the most recent 4 new series that just started as part of a batch at the end of 2022. I was kind of just slowly catching up on them, and I finally last night just binge read all 5 chapters that are currently out of Fabricant 100, and it is easily my favorite of the 4. In fact, I was planning on doing a video on the other 3, but this series so far has blew the other 3 so far out of the water, I don't even want to do the other ones anymore. In fact, I don't even really like them to begin with. Ichinose's Family's Deadly Sins, that one's okay, but the other 2 are not great. So anyway, Fabricant 100, this is the latest series in Weekly Shonen Jump by Daisuke Enoshima. This is probably the strongest series that started in Weekly Shonen Jump in 2022, and although this was my first year reading every new series, I feel like that's a pretty ballsy statement to say, especially because I really liked Ginka and Luna. Like, I starting off, Ginka and Luna really kind of took my breath away, and maybe it's just because I've had more time to kind of marinate on that, and we've had 20 chapters of that, and it's kind of gone downhill a lot. Maybe that's kind of sinking in, but Fabricant 100 from just these first 5 chapters has been so engrossing. This world, this, like, I want to say like early 20th century kind of time period, mixed with, you know, all these things going on, these creatures, these fabricants, the characters. This series is something that I feel like could be really special, and even if it doesn't ever deliver on being really special, I can safely say from these first 5 chapters, this is my favorite new series of 2022. I would even put this above the first 5 chapters of Akane Banashi. That's how much I actually really liked Fabricant 100. Alright, so Fabricant 100 follows the story of a young boy named Ashibi and his fabricant partner, Fabricant 100. She doesn't really have a name. The entire plot is that long ago, there was this doctor who was fixated on creating the perfect human being, almost like a kind of like a Full Metal Alchemist kind of vibe in a lot of senses with this series. And in doing so, he created, or the doctor, we don't know their gender, created 100 different beings. And on the day that he made the 100th fabricant, who is our protagonist kind of partner throughout this entire series, his life came to an end. So we don't know exactly how that happened, but I would think it's safe to assume Fabricant 100 actually killed the doctor. And also, another comparison I have to make really quick. My favorite saga in Dragon Ball Z is the Android Saga, or Cell Saga as a whole, I should say. And this is very Dr. Gero-esque, so already love that. But where it gets really interesting for me is Ashibi's past and his family and why he's working with this fabricant. So Ashibi is, you know, kind of a stereotypical shonen trope. His entire family was murdered, but his entire family was like this super rich bloodline, I guess. Not even necessarily vampires, but they lived to be very old. Like, I'm talking into the 120s old. So basically their blood or their flesh or their bodies are very coveted, and the fabricants can take other people's bodies and kind of attach them to themselves. They have stitches all over the designs and they look really sick. When his family was killed, he actually kind of made a blood oath, I guess, with the fabricants who were all about to attack him, saying, listen, when I turn 18, my body will be in peak performance, basically, and if you kill all other fabricants in the world, I will give you my body, it can be yours, and that's our deal. So immediately, Fabricant 100 kills all the other fabricants that were in the room at the time and agrees, I will protect you. I will make sure we kill all the other fabricants and that you do not die until you are 18. At that point, your body will be mine. So we already just kind of have this really interesting dynamic where, you know, I think with a series like this, you'd maybe want to be led to believe that, you know, despite Fabricant 100 being, you know, doing this for kind of her own cause and wanting his body, typically with a series like this, you're gonna kind of lead yourself to believe that, oh, maybe she'll change, maybe she'll develop human emotion, and then, you know, they'll just be buds. I really don't think that's the case, as we've seen with the most recent chapters, where she's been, like, kind of manipulating him, not telling him the whole truth. Apparently, they don't actually need to kill all the fabricants. If they just kill fabricant number 1, it'll actually kill all the other fabricants. And as we saw with the most recent chapter, I mean, she is a cold-hearted monster, essentially. She's a demon, basically. Ashibi was, like, looking at her on a monitor through another room when he wasn't, you know, present, and she was acting completely differently, talking differently, and kind of just, like, almost like chills, you know, like some horror-type manga stuff where she is actually just a monster, and he has to kind of come to terms with that. And obviously, you know, that's the most recent chapter. We'll see where it goes from there. But I think it's just this really interesting dynamic where typically with a series like this, like I said, you would think they're going to be buddy-buddy. But I think throughout the entire series, or at least my hope, and I mean, maybe the writing will go differently, we're going to have these two main characters that are at odds with each other throughout the entire thing, kind of taking advantage of one another to, you know, benefit themselves in the long run. And it's also just really funny seeing Fabricant 100 and Ashibi kind of interact during just everyday life, I guess, because while they're, you know, they're doing their fabricant hunting, just seeing them interact on a day-to-day basis is very funny, because Fabricant 100, she acts very goofy and lighthearted when she's with Ashibi, because I don't know if she's just trying to play like the big sister role or mother role or what, but you know, if Ashibi, like, you know, cuts himself or does anything, like if it, you know, there's one panel where she's like, if his stress level goes too high, something bad's gonna happen. She's very protective of him in that, you know, elderly sister or motherly way. However, it's obviously just because she wants his body. So it's just very funny to see their dynamic. Ashibi, you know, he knows why she's there. It's not like he doesn't know what's going on, but even he's kind of like, damn, I kind of like her. I kind of don't want her to just be a monster. So I think going through the series, however long it runs, hopefully it does well. We don't know the rankings for it yet. You know, seeing how their relationship kind of develops, whether or not Fabricant 100 actually becomes more human in emotion, or if she just, I kind of hope she just sticks, you know, with being a monster. Either way, it's going to be very interesting to see how they develop and how Ashibi kind of handles the situation. We just got introduced to Luca, I believe his name is, one of the only human characters we really know, and he's been a lot of fun. He has like these weird powers, I guess, and there's this whole anti-fabricant organization that are, you know, they're designated basically to go hunt down the Fabricants and wipe them out by killing Fabricant 1. And overall, I just really, really like the vibes of this series. If you like that kind of tone of Elve Fullmetal Alchemist, I think this is probably right up your alley. Obviously, 5 chapters in, very early to compare it to Fullmetal Alchemist, one of the greatest of all time, right? Or even like I mentioned with the Android Saga and Dragon Ball Z, the plot setup is eerily similar to a degree. And, you know, just the art is beautiful, very unique for Jump also. And just the time period, I've mentioned in my videos for basically all the new series that have come out, I am so tired. I'm so tired of modern day Japan settings and manga. This isn't like fantasy world strictly, although I don't think they actually said Earth. They just said, you know, they're in like this certain village. I assume, you know, like Europe, right? Despite that, it feels more fantasy. Whereas Ginka and Luna is like pure fantasy that's obviously not Earth. This at least isn't modern day Tokyo. I'm so tired of that setting in Shonen Jump manga, so this is just really refreshing with that refreshing art style, with this refreshing premise, and with one of the main characters being essentially the main antagonist. I think that's really an interesting premise, and I really hope that the author, Daisuke Enoshima, can really kind of just elaborate on this plot and keep it going, keep the pace right. I think that's one of Ginka and Luna's biggest flaws right now, is the pacing has been all over the place. It started out super fast-paced, maybe to a fault, and then it has really slowed to a crawl in my opinion, whereas this for the first 5 chapters has just been an absolute perfectly paced series. And you know, like I said, very early to be saying these things, and I really hope that I can look back in a year and be like, oh, thank God I you know, recognized the greatness in the series and was right. But if not, I'll be wrong. You know, I've been wrong about other series in the magazine in the past. I've been wrong about a lot of things. But this one, I just have a really good feeling about this. Even just like the plot device of Fabricants and how they take body parts from other humans, that inherently sets itself up for kind of like this battle shonen kind of style, where, you know, they can all just get upgrades. They mention how they wiped out Ashibi's family, who were all these, you know, almost immortal people, not quite immortal, but, you know, they lived for a very long time. They mention that. We haven't seen any Fabricants with those body parts. I think that's almost guaranteed to show up at some point, right? And just anything like that. You know, we saw a Fabricant who could breathe underwater. And even Ashibi's like talking like, man, why can't he just be happy living that marine life with the fish? You know, I just think there's a lot going on in the series, but not too much. It's still pretty simple and easy to get into. And it's not overwhelming, almost kind of like Ginko and Luna is with all these magic and all these terms. It's just, listen, there's these homunculi looking, you know, creatures that were man-made, and we have to take care of them. So I'm really optimistic for the series. I'm very curious what you all think down in the comments below. Are you enjoying Fabricant 100 so far? I have to say, I was putting it off for a while because the other 3 series that recently started, I just was not a huge fan of. I don't necessarily dislike them. I just didn't, you know, like Cypher Academy, for example. I just, not really my thing. Fabricant 100 kind of rejuvenated me. It really, like, I was like, man, this is what I want more of. This is why I love Shonen Jump, and this is what I want to see more of in the magazine. So let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the support recently on Shonen Soup. Go check out my ranking of 2022 video I did a few weeks back. I put a lot of effort in that video, so if you would go check out that, I would very highly appreciate it. And of course, yeah, follow me on Twitter at BoTalksMedia. Follow my main channel for video game stuff at BoTalksMedia. And until next time, folks, bye-bye.